In a small village nestled between rolling hills and deep forests, lived a young girl named Muna. She was known for her gentle heart and kind nature, but her life was far from easy. After losing her parents at a young age, Muna was taken in by her Aunt Rookie, who was a poor woman herself. Together, they lived in a tiny, run-down house at the outskirts of the village. Muna and her aunt worked hard every day to earn enough to buy food, but Muna loved to dance. She dreamed every night about dancing in front of a big crowd and making people happy. She would move her body at the sound of any music, and her aunt would watch and applaud her every time. She had tried to join the village dance group many times, but they never picked her because of her poor background. Life in the village was particularly hard for Muna, as she often found herself the target of ridicule from the other girls. They would make fun of her worn-out clothes, her patched shoes, and the simple meals she ate. The girls, particularly a group led by the wealthy dance group leader named Error, were cruel. Error's father was the town's chief, and she and her rich friends would go around town bullying the poor girls and making them do their bidding. Muna would hide out to watch the other girls practice new dance moves in the village hall. She got caught one of the days by Error and her friends. "Look at Muna, always dressed like a beggar," Error said as they sneaked up on Muna. The other girls laughed loudly. "How do you expect to join us when you can't even afford a new dress?" another girl named EJ screamed mockingly. Muna ran away, trying to ignore them, but deep down, their words stung. She found her way to her favorite spot beside the riverbank, where she could be alone with her thoughts, cry, and dream about a better life. She would hide behind a rock by the riverbank and dance to the rhythm in her head or practice the dance steps she saw the other girls doing. Unknown to Muna, an old river goddess, who lived beside the river, would watch her regularly in secret as she danced. The river goddess was fascinated by her moves and would hide away secretly to watch her whenever she came around. One day, as she hid beside the riverbank, as usual, practicing a dance step, Muna's worn-out sandals gave way, and she lost her balance. Muna screamed in pain as she landed on the rocky floor. As she was breathing in pain, trying to console herself, a voice echoed behind her. "You dance so gracefully," the voice said. Muna was startled and turned around to see who was speaking to her. It was a beautiful woman. The woman's eyes twinkled with mischief, and she wore a golden attire that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. "Thank you," Muna responded shyly. She never expected to see someone else there. "You might be needing a better pair of footwear if you wish to continue dancing," the mysterious woman said. "Well, I don't have another one. I'll patch this one tomorrow, and it should be just fine," Muna replied. The woman laughed at her innocence and reached into her cloak. She pulled out a beautiful red shoe. It sparkled as if it had been crafted from the finest materials. "Take this, my dear," the old woman said. "This will transform you into the most wonderful dancer the world has ever seen. As long as you wear it, you will be light on your feet, graceful beyond measure, and capable of movements no one else can match." Muna's eyes widened in disbelief. "Why, this looks expensive," she whispered, hardly able to believe what she was hearing. The woman smiled. "You have entertained me in the past month. Whenever you come here to dance, it's a gift and a reward." With that, the goddess handed the shoe to Muna and disappeared into the forest before Muna could thank her. Muna returned home, clutching the red shoe to her chest, unsure whether it was right to accept the beautiful gift. She placed it under her bed, too afraid to try it on just yet. Days later, an exciting announcement spread through the village. In preparation for the king's anniversary celebration, the king declared a grand dancing competition. The best dancer in the entire village would win fortunes that would last a lifetime, gold, jewels, land, and a place of honor in the royal court. The news caused a flurry of excitement, especially among the girls in the village. Error and her friends wasted no time. They quickly hired the best dance tutors to teach them fancy steps and graceful moves. Every day, they would practice in the village hall, showing off their expensive outfits and their new, carefully choreographed dances. Muna, of course, could not afford a tutor. She wasn't even considering participating in the competition. As she watched the other girls twirl and glide, she could hear their laughter echoing in her mind. "Look at Muna, standing like a lost puppy," Error would sneer. "Does she think she can compete with us? She doesn't even know how to dance." The other girls would laugh and point fingers at her. Muna quietly walked away to attend to the chores at home to keep her mind busy. One evening, Muna got back from running errands and sat on her bed. She remembered the red shoe and finally decided to try it on. The moment it touched her skin, she felt an electric energy surge through her body. She stood up and began to move her feet, gliding across the floor effortlessly. She spun, twirled, leaped, as though she was performing for an exquisite audience. Her movements were fluid, elegant, and graceful, far beyond anything she had ever seen. Muna danced under the moonlight, feeling freer and happier than she had in years. She made up her mind that night to conquer her fear and timidity and participate in the competition. "I must stand up for myself and partake in this challenge," she muttered to herself. In the days leading up to the competition, Muna practiced in secret, sneaking into the woods to dance where no one could see her. Each time she put on the shoe, she felt the magic strengthen, guiding her movements with ease. She began to believe that she might just have a chance to win the competition and change her life forever. Finally, the day of the competition arrived. The village square was transformed into a grand stage, with colorful banners and decorations hanging from every building. Villagers from far and near gathered to watch, eager to see who would win the king's great prize. Muna, wearing her worn-out dress and carrying the magical shoe in a small cloth bag, nervously made her way to the square. As soon as she arrived, Error spotted her. "Look who's here," she said, laughing loudly so everyone could hear. "Muna, what are you doing here? Are you going to dance in those rags? This is a serious competition, not a charity event." The other girls joined in, mocking her and pointing at her simple appearance. But Muna, though nervous, didn't let their words deter her. She was determined to give herself a shot. One by one, the girls performed their dances. Error's routine was dazzling, with intricate steps and graceful spins. The crowd cheered loudly. It seemed certain that she would win. The other girls also performed beautifully, showing off the skills they had learned from their tutors. Finally, it was Muna's turn. She wore the red shoe the goddess had gifted her with, her hands shaking as she stepped onto the stage. The crowd went silent. She could hear whispers and sneers from the audience, but she took a deep breath and slipped the red shoe onto her foot. The music began, and Muna started to dance. At first, the crowd was stunned by her grace. Her movements were unlike anything they had ever seen, light as air, fluid as water. She twirled and leaped, her feet moving faster and more skillfully than any of the other girls. The red shoe's magic transformed her into the most enchanting dancer the village had ever witnessed. As she danced, the gasps of amazement turned into cheers of excitement. Muna's confidence grew with each step, and soon, the entire crowd was on its feet, cheering her on. Even the king, who was watching from his royal seat, sat forward in amazement. His eyes widened with wonder. When the music stopped, the crowd erupted into applause. Muna stood on the stage, her heart racing, her face flushed with joy. She had done it. She had shown everyone what she was capable of. The king rose from his seat and called Muna forward. "Young lady," he said, "I have never seen such grace and talent in all my years. You have won this competition, and with it, the fortune I promised." Muna couldn't believe her ears. Tears welled up in her eyes as the king handed her a golden box filled with gold coins and jewels. Her life and her aunt's life would never be the same again. Error, standing off to the side, was pitiless. She and the other girls who had mocked Muna could only watch in stunned silence as Muna received her prize. They realized too late that anyone could become anything they put their mind to, even the girl they mocked daily. As Muna returned home that night, her heart filled with happiness. She met the goddess again by the path leading to her house. This time, the goddess bowed deeply in gratitude. "Thank you," Muna said. "You gave me the chance to change my life." The goddess smiled kindly. "I knew you had it in you. Your spirit and your courage won today." With that, the goddess vanished once more, leaving Muna to return to her aunt with her newfound fortune. From that day forward, Muna and her aunt lived comfortably, and Muna continued to pursue her dreams without fear or timidity. This is the end of my story. I hope you learned something from this story. Please, if you haven't subscribed, kindly click on the subscribe button. Be a part of my growth. Turn on the notifications so that when I post more interesting stories, you'll be the first to get them. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for your consistent support.